All right, welcome everyone to this new episode of Drunken Jurors. I'm Jeff.
I'm Adam.
I'm Nick.
And we have a special one this week. We have another one of our wonderful guests for Drunken Jurors. Everyone, welcome Ben from the History Voyager Podcast.
Hey, thanks everybody. Yeah. So how you doing? I have a podcast. I started out as deep dive in Spanish flu, COVID-19. I was the 15th most downloaded podcast on COVID for a long while. I was up there with NPR, etc., and so on. Yeah. And now I just talk to people about the world, talk to regular folks about the world. So cool.
And yeah,
So you were the one that reported that COVID was spread by 5G? That was you?
No, actually, no. I was so early on, I was telling people it wasn't spread by the phone system, which I thought was a little strange.
Yeah, that one, as someone who is in the conspiracy lane, that was a bit much even for me.
My favorite conspiracy about COVID was that it's actually we're not getting shots we're not getting vaccines. They're actually injecting us with trackers, which if the government has that kind of money, we know people in the military who don't get trackers put on them, not injected into their bodies. I was going to say,
the U.S. Army gets a $500,000 radio that works sometimes in a mountainy area. Most of the time, your cell phone will work better than that radio.
But hey, we're injecting every person in America with a tracker. So
my favorite COVID conspiracy was the trackers as well, but here's why. It's like, fellas, people, your phone could track you.
Yeah,
honestly,
they already have the capabilities.
I actually carry my cell phone in a Faraday cage.
Hey, I mean,
Nick has a lead case that he has his phone in.
Now you might be wondering, Nick, doesn't that defeat the purpose of a cell phone? You would be correct. Also, Faraday cages, very expensive.
Oh God.
I don't think I knew what a Faraday cage was until like 5 years ago. Maybe I did, but
I
still,
think I learned what a Faraday cage was from NCIS.
Okay. All right.
What a great generation we are, right?
I mean, where else are you going to learn what a Faraday cage is?
That's true.
This week I'm drinking some whiskey. I'm having some Evan Williams.
I'm having some truly wild berry vodka with some Sprite.
It's gross. I'm drinking Bud Light Lime. Also, for those wondering, a Faraday cage is a wire cage that prevents wireless signals from reaching it, passing to and forth.
I honestly thought you were saying ferret a cage, and it's a cage to trap ferrets.
Yeah, no.
So there was a guy named Ferret, and he had a middle initial of A, and
he's actually related to Nicolas Cage. Yeah, so
yeah, that's what it was. Okay. All right.
You really reached for that low fruit, didn't you, Adam?
Yeah, really going for that one there. All right, so this week's case, we have another interesting one. We're actually on a sweet roll here of having some decent cases we're talking about.
Okay.
This one is about Colleen Stan.
It's weird watching you look down at your
I know it's weird. I don't like it. I should just
really unsettling.
I should tape them to my monitor.
I thought you were really focused on pouring your drink.
No. I have a question though. Are all these murders like in the Midwest or what?
No, we cover a little bit of everything.
We do European, 1800s, literally everything. I'm passionate for 19th century German murders. I'm an aficionado, if you will.
I feel like that's a lie.
It is.
There's actually a show that I listened to called Dark Histories. I don't know if you've heard of it, but I think the guy was a hairdresser or was, I don't know, but it's a really interesting show about murders in the past. It's really, really cool.
There's a new one out right now about a Belgian kidnapper and murderer and pedophile from the 1990s that that case single-handedly destroyed the Belgian National Police. It's actually really good. Like, I've been listening to it. It's called La Monstra, but it's really good. Yeah, highly recommend. It's like an iHeartRadio thing.
We basically just cover so we'll prepare in advance our bigger episodes like Chris Watts we did in advance research and stuff, and then while we're doing that we'll just do some little one-hitter type stuff, and we've been on a one-hitter for a while since we were so busy recording guest episodes.
When's the Black Hand one coming out? When are we recording that anyway?
Before next Tuesday.
Okay.
It's only been pushed back 3 weeks.
We don't talk about that. All right, so Colleen Stan, she had 2 sisters and her parents were divorced. She only saw her dads on the weekends, and but at the age of 14 she ended up moving in with her dad because her mom was not a very great mother and she hated being around her stepdad, who was very much a person who believed that kids should be seen and not heard. So one of those wonderful human beings. So she ended up at 14 moving in with him. Her senior year she dropped out and got married, and it only lasted a year. So then she returned back home, and then 3 months later she moved to Eugene, Oregon with 3 friends. And that's where we're pretty much going to pick up on where this case starts to really get a little crazy.
I think that might be the worst place to move to if you're just going to pick
Eugene,
up and move out of high school. Yeah, that sounds like a horrible place.
I don't know anything about it. This is going to be the niche thing that you're going to be really pissed off about that I didn't look up a lot of.
To be fair, I know Eugene, Oregon from somewhere, and I don't remember exactly what, but it wasn't a good thing. It was a really bad thing also.
Where is Nike?
Portland, I believe, or just south of Portland.
Okay.
Something like that. Yeah, I know.
Something's in Eugene. I know something's in Eugene.
Yeah, and it sounds. Oh, I'm gonna look it up. Maybe was that Amazon? Was Amazon founded in Eugene?
No, that's Seattle.
Is that Seattle?
Oh no, Nick, fact check that.
Yeah, I'm doing it.
A little bit of effort never hurt anyone.
No, Nike Corporation was founded in Eugene.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
I remembered. Haha.
Damn, he's better than us already.
That's where I remember it from. Oh, it's a fucking suburb of.
So on May 19th of 1997, Colleen decided to hitchhike 400 miles to surprise a friend for their birthday.
All right. When is this again? Hold on.
I literally just said the date, Nick.
Sorry. No,
Wait.
I was looking at Eugene.
1997? That's a little late.
1977.
1977. Yeah, that's about right for hitchhiking days. For the peak of hitchhiking.
But then did she walk 500 more?
Shut up.
Go away.
Get out of here.
You're fired. You do all the work, but you're fired.
Walk 500 miles. Okay.
So, God damn it. So she did, after a while, she ended up getting to a spot where she rejected a ride from a bunch of guys because she thought it was weird and that they were going to do something bad to her. But I'm just going to do a little foreshadowing. She fucking chose the worst scenario.
Oh.
Next came up a couple that asked her for a ride. It was a man, a woman, and their 8-month-old baby. She accepted the ride because they were going they said they were going exactly where she was going. While on the drive, the couple didn't speak to her, but the man only stared at her weirdly through the rearview mirror the entire time. And then
remember, kids, if you're going to be hitchhiking long directions, go in the opposite direction of your destination. That's how you can make sure that they're not a killer.
Huh.
This already feels like a Criminal Minds episode, or
yeah. It's not. Well, I feel like every 1970s murder was a fucking Criminal Minds episode.
I love 1970s horror. I mean, I do. Not to move off the beam, but I love 1970s horror. My favorite horror genre or period, I guess.
After a while, they ended up stopping for a bathroom break. But when she came back, there was a strange wooden box contraption on the back seat next to her. Because, reason.
Who doesn't have a strange wooden box in the back of their car?
It's weird. The box on one. Box. The weird thing is the box on one side had a hole in it.
That's where I keep my offhand gun.
So once they were driving, the couple said that they were going to check out some ice caves, and Colleen said that it was fine if they went and stopped there. So they ended up driving.
Ice caves?
Yeah, they're in Northern California.
Okay, so
which I guess in the middle
glaciers
of
and
May,
shit?
I guess in the middle of May probably has a bunch of ice caves. I don't fucking know anything.
Hey, what
about
kind
it.
of paper did you use? Loose leaf, computer paper?
Oh my God,
pad.
Nicholas.
Just a notepad.
Just curious.
Yeah, thanks for
Leave
asking.
me alone, Adam. I'm curious about this man's notes. Ballpoint or gel?
Ballpoint, of course.
Oh, good.
So then they end up driving up into the mountains.
Gel anymore?
Gel? What? Gel pens are better. The G2 pilot's where it's at.
Jesus fuck. I hate you. So they went up in the mountains. When they got to a nice secluded area, the wife and the baby ended up walking down to a stream. And while they did that, the husband jumped into the back seat and with a knife, he put it to her throat and handcuffed her. After that, he put on a full head gag that basically covered the entire lower half.
He put it on himself. I was like, that's a power move, man. Jesus.
Just hop in the back seat, put a ball gag in on yourself.
This is more for me than you.
So he ends up handcuffing her. After he puts the full head gag on, he then puts the wooden box around her head and closes it. On the inside is a bunch of carpet. I saw a picture of this thing. Horrifying. There's
Are you about to say carpenter nails?
No, it's like shag carpeting put on the inside to like muffle noise.
I would just do everything in my power to kill myself. I'd banging my head trying to break my neck.
The pictures were awful. Like
shag carpeting. That sounds like
the
70s,
man.
Ass cancer.
So
that joke's too much. Never mind.
They then drove around for a while until it became night so they could sneak her into their house. And once it did become night and they got her in the house, they took her straight to the basement, took the box off of her, and then
put an entire just bundle of shag carpeting around her.
No.
No?
We'll get to a bigger box later.
I don't like what you're saying to me.
He then stood her on top of a table, restrained her hands and wrists above her head onto a hook by a chain, and then kicked out the box from under her and left her there, just dangling by her wrists.
Huh. The jokes I have are too much, so there's nothing I can do here.
I don't know what you want from me.
Can you dial it back a little bit so I can get in here with some funnies?
No, because this just gets worse.
Oh man.
Once she was up and the box was out from under her, he cut off her clothes, and then once restrained, he started to whip her. Once it stopped, she was trying to look around, but she had a blindfold on, so all she could see was just basically like straight down. She looked around, and beneath her, she did see a pile of BDSM magazines open to a woman hanging in the same exact position she was. So I wonder where he got that idea. And then when she looked a little bit farther, she just saw the couple having sex on the floor next to her.
And then after she escaped, she wrote 50 Shades of Grey. So
we got 7.5 more years before that happens. So.
Okay.
How do you know that exact date?
Because that's how long she was in captivity, and this isn't the first day.
Oh, I thought you meant like that was when the book was written. I'm like, that doesn't seem right.
God, no, that would have been a wildly specific time.
Like, how do you know that exactly?
Yeah, Jeff knows exactly what the moment 50 Shades of Grey was being written.
Yeah. Do you know it was written on a BlackBerry?
You know
I heard somewhere that was a fan novel
it's a Harry Styles One Direction fanfic.
Not Harry Styles, but
not right.
What was it?
It's like a Twilight fanfic.
It's like Twilight with Harry Styles. I'm pretty sure.
I
don't think Harry Styles was a thing when that was written.
One Direction was a thing.
I'm so confused.
When did One Direction become a thing? And hold on, I'm laughing. That doesn't sound.
But which one was it? Like was 50 Shades the fanfic of Twilight, or was Twilight the fanfic of 50 Shades?
I feel like
Twilight came first.
Yeah.
Yeah. All I remember was, like, I'd be traveling on the train and all the ladies be reading 50 Shades of Grey.
All right, Adam, you win this round. Fucking 50 Shades of Grey, or 50 Shades of Grey was written in 11. One Direction was founded in 2010. You win this round. Maybe. I don't know. Timeline doesn't seem quite right, but
remember, they were already famous from the British X Factor.
No, they were literally. Wait, what?
That's how they got their start. They were on the British X Factor.
I know nothing about.
And then
fucking One
Simon
Direction.
Cowell put
How are we
them
back
together.
on One Direction?
I know, like, well, look, we all have our
Never
fucking
left
kinks.
One Direction.
I don't like it.
Yeah. No.
All right.
Simon Cowell put them together. No, Jeff, this is more important.
Okay.
Yeah,
Harry Styles is in the MCU now, so this is
yeah.
what facts
but,
we
like,
need to know.
is Eternals really a movie? Like, did anyone actually watch it?
Morgan just texted me Harry Styles question.
Would you guys need a guest? Are you guys interviewing him?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll tell her that.
So her abductors were Cameron Hooker and Janice Hooker. Cameron was 23 and he was a lumberyard worker.
I
could not-
hardly know her. There
Shut
you go.
the fuck up.
There you go. This is the joke. There it is.
So
You are disgracing the reputation of this podcast, Nicholas.
Oh yeah, because that joke was what did us in.
the documentary. Oh god damn! I always forget sources. God damn it! Hold on.
We're
Do this.
never gonna remember that.
No, just do it
No.
at the end and then put it at the
No,
beginning.
you
and
do
we
it at
edit.
the end. Just do it literally the last sound in the episode is the source. Just
Nick
no
do the
context,
roar
just
and you
book-
just list all the
Yeah.
sources.
I watched it was an A&E like 2-part documentary called Colleen Stan, Girl in the Box. That's where I got this from. They didn't really talk much about Cameron's early life, but the only things I could find was that there isn't a lot known about his early life, but he was born in Alturas, California on November 5th, 1953. His family moved often during his childhood, and then they settled in Red Bluff in 1969. 1972, he graduated from high school and he began to work at a local lumber mill, which is what he did the entire time. And he met Janice the next year. Janice was only 15 at the time, and she was abused by her family and then abused by him. She was extremely submissive, and she basically just took any of the bondage and sadomasochism that he gave her. So that's a little bit of him. So after they got done having sex in front of her, he then unhooked her, put the box back on her head, then put her body into another box, which had like hooks for her hands and feet to spread them out like completely, and then it had a hole on the top so her head could stick out with the other box on top of her head.
Was there shab carpeting in this box?
I do not believe so. No, it was just a wooden
thank
box.
God. I would somehow kill myself.
Nick's having nightmares about shag
I'm really not a fan of shag carpet. It's like scratchy. It's gross.
Yes, that is the problem with this case. Was the
Those
interior
nails fine? Like
the interior design of the fucking box on her
Yeah.
head was the problem here. So left her there throughout the night. Next morning, Cameron removed both of the boxes and then chained her to a table with her arms spread wide open, and then put her head back in the box because for some reason he had to take it off first, and then he left.
probably had a feeder.
Yeah, so basically how that worked was he would feed her, and then she had a designated time of day where she was allowed to go to the bathroom, and he watched her while she did it. So
Cute.
Oh.
yeah. Shut up. I hate that. God damn it. So this happens for a while. This just goes on for months of her being locked in the basement and basically him and his wife having sex in front of her while like whipping her or something. So
It's a vibe.
after 3 days, her roommates obviously started to worry as they found out that she never arrived at their other friend's place. So they then filed a missing persons report, but after weeks and months went by with nothing, they ended up starting their own search and filing missing persons reports along the route that she would have taken while hitchhiking. How
Fun
the
fact,
fuck they know
because it
what
was
that
the
would have been?
70s. This was all done with carrier pigeon.
Pony Express didn't come by that often. This goes on with her in the basement for over a year. No one hearing anything from her, seeing her, nothing. Then after a year, Cameron moved all of them out to a mobile home outside of the town. And since there was no basement, he built a ventilated box underneath him and his wife's waterbed.
Wow.
And that
Wait.
was where she would stay.
What? I don't like it. I'm also really against the waterbed thing.
How are you picking out all the bad, like the things that aren't that bad as the bad things?
Waterbeds are weird.
So did she just not go to the store, or like what was the deal? Like was she like physically handcuffed and chained?
Yeah, she was always chained and handcuffed too.
Okay.
So every night she was put back in those boxes, and then during the day she would be brought out and like chained up.
Okay. So next question, and maybe you covered this, and maybe I just wasn't listening, but did he do this before?
We'll get to that.
Okay.
Oh, joy.
Okay.
But yes.
All right. Yeah. Okay.
Wouldn't you like to know?
I'm just because you're bopping along, living your life. You know what I want? I want to change somebody up. That's I mean, just think about like all the logistics involved.
I mean, it's a choice. Like,
well, right. Just saying.
Yeah,
I feel like
there has to be a lot of planning.
I mean,
like for that to be his first time to be able to pull that off.
You're gonna hit up the neighbors, his childhood neighbors, and they're gonna he was killing cats. He was killing kittens and puppies and birds, and for real.
Fucking be an adult and shoot a stranger. Like, really.
Jesus Christ.
That might be a bit much.
No, that is the line.
Is that the line? That's it. We found it. Okay.
Yeah. We're gonna put that on a
found
shirt
it for the day.
We're gonna put that on a shirt with Nick giving a thumbs up and on the bottom of it being like be an
adult and shoot a stranger.
Nick approved.
Well, then those junior that junior hockey league or whatever it is gonna like release a statement. We do not condone that. Like, all right.
I hate it. Every night she would be suspended and whipped. Sometimes he built this like homemade machine with chains that like he would basically stretch her with the chains, like from her arms and her feet, and just stretch her out.
Well, what I was gonna say was I remember like years and years ago, I remember hearing this story about like there was a kid that basically sauntered into his like elementary middle school guidance counselor's office one day and said, "Hi, I was kidnapped when I was 6," or something like that.
Why does that sound familiar?
Because it's a famous case.
Oh, yeah.
It's literally a famous case. This dude, like he kidnapped this child and just raised this kid as his own kid. I think maybe there was some sexual stuff too, but he basically tried to raise the kid like his own kid. And the kid went along with it for years. And then the guy found another kid. And so the kid like literally sauntered into the middle school or maybe it was even high school principals or guidance counselor was like, "Hey, I was kidnapped when I was 7 or whatever." I mean, this reminds me a lot of that.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah, she was 20 when she was abducted. So I don't think I mentioned that. Also, somehow I wrote notes and got them out of order. So we're going to go back a little bit before they moved to the mobile home.
How did you do that?
I don't know, man. This is why I shouldn't be allowed to handwrite notes. So every night she was suspended and whipped, and he at one point threatened to remove her vocal cords. That's how he got her to stay quiet. Then after a while, he ended up making a room under the cellar stairs and started giving her like random jobs to do around like the house. And one of the first one he did was shucking walnuts, which was an odd one, like a shit ton of walnuts. I don't fucking know why.
Well, I mean, the guy was crazy. I mean, let's start there.
True.
And
he does work as at a lumber yard, so I guess walnuts could be easily obtainable in the plethora, depending on what trees.
It strikes me that if you're kidnapping people, like you're not going to be a fan of going to the store too much. Like you're not going to want to leave that person alone,
right? Yeah,
for very long.
Well, that's kind of what his wife was for. She was a stay-at-home mom, so she basically watched her while he was gone at work.
Wait, you said there was a kid there. Okay.
Yeah, right. Yeah. They had an 8-month-old.
Well, Jesus.
Which is like the weird thing to me how that worked out.
So wait, hang on.
She's there for 7.5 years, so that
But,
kid
like,
ends up
that-
being 8.
Yeah, like that kid's eight and plus years. I mean, eventually that kid's gonna be like, so there's a woman sort of in the basement. What's that about? Like,
Or eventually, like, she's sleeping under my parents' waterbed.
I mean,
Like,
maybe
That's the house
because
goblin.
well, here's the
There's
question.
only one of those,
It's
baby.
only one of those.
Yeah. Well, here's the question though. Did the kid? I mean, did the kid have friends that the kid went to see him?
Yeah,
Like,
well, I
did-
would assume the
see?
father wouldn't have allowed anyone over at all ever. And
Well-
the kid did go to public school, because we'll get into that a little bit later.
All right.
So he then gave her a contract to sign to
Ooh.
make her his slave for life. He told her that he was a part of a
Legally
power.
No.
binding.
As the legal expert here, no.
He said he was a part of a powerful slave trade called, quote unquote, the company.
Oh, that's the
Um,
CIA.
So she ended up signing it. She had already been there for 9 months, and she just kind of gave up on hope of being found after that point. So
Mhm.
after she signed it, she was given a nightgown and allowed to do chores upstairs. Janice, his wife, fucking hated her with a passion, because he was so like into having a slave that she felt neglected, and that he liked her more even though he beat her. So
It's very Joker Harley Quinn vibes.
yeah.
Yeah, I get that.
One day he brought her upstairs and tied her to his bed, and then he raped her. His wife got immediately extremely upset, because apparently the reason he was allowed to have a slave was if she were to get so she could have another baby, and he was only supposed to have sex with Janice, his wife. So he was allowed to have a slave to do all of his bondage weird shit, but she wanted a baby, so he was only allowed to have sex with her. So he secretly started having sex with Colleen when his wife wasn't home, and he used a condom so he wouldn't impregnate her.
How considerate.
Yeah. So
Well,
that's
I mean,
when
if you think about it, that baby would cause people to ask questions.
yeah,
Like, you know what I'm saying? That would cause people to ask questions.
yeah, that's true. Just a baby that looks nothing like you or your wife.
Well, not only that, but you have to take the baby eventually, unless you fill up the birth and the baby at home.
Yeah,
You got to take somebody to the hospital.
right.
I mean,
I don't know. There's a lot of, I don't know, just this case being in the 70s and the amount of shit that somehow slid by, because it doesn't
Mhm.
get better. Like, we'll start getting into it. She gets more and more freedom, and doesn't nothing's ever found out.
That's Stockholm syndrome for you.
Yeah. So
yeah.
then
Yeah.
after the years when they moved to the mobile home, and he built the ventilated box underneath the waterbed.
Okay, wait. So they're not in the mobile home yet.
No. I had to backtrack because
Oh,
I
yeah.
fucked up notes. So
Yeah,
that was
okay.
all during that first year when they were in the first house. And now we're going into the mobile home and all that, her sleeping under the waterbed every night. And while she was in there, she had to use a bedpan while in the box, which I don't know how the fuck you managed to do that while laying down, but I guess it worked. Then while she was down there, she learned that he also tortured his wife, as he was, he's obviously a sadist, so his sexual urges are violent usually. And as you're underneath them, you're going to be around for when they have sex. And also, it sounds like she gave birth to their second child at home, and she was in the box underneath the bed when that happened.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Still don't get how no one found anything then either. But
Am I going over this? Do they live in like the middle of fucking nowhere, like off a fucking logging road?
they,
cabin?
like the mountainous areas of
Okay. I was about to be like, if they live in fucking
the
suburbia, I'm gonna be
no,
pissed.
the extremely like woodsy area of northern
Yeah,
California.
like fucking off an old logging road.
Yeah. So after the second child was born, and like after some more time, she was given even more freedom and more chores to do, but she was also given 15 minutes of jog time around the neighborhood.
Okay, wait. Hang on.
Yep.
Gotta stay fit. Remember, kids, cardio.
She was allowed outside of the house. And this is where like Stockholm syndrome really comes in. Like, oh, like life's not too bad because he's now giving me like my own little free time and like luxuries.
Did this incorporate stretching and cool down time after the run?
I probably not.
Okay.
Well, I
To
mean,
say, well, if you're stuck in a box, you're gonna want to stretch out those hammies.
That's true.
I wonder honestly, like how many people they were even around. I mean,
Yeah, but I mean, like there had to be a 15-minute jog. There had to be like someone had to drive down the road or something, like somewhat commonly, I guess. But
I mean, also, if you're fucking stuck in the woods, where are you gonna go?
yeah.
well, I mean, if he like gives you free, like you can run, like you leave the house and you can run after 15 minutes, like imagine how far you can get and hide yourself in the woods and keep moving and stuff. I don't know, but
Well, there's also, I mean, she was 20, right? So she might have been,
she would have been like mid-20s by now or early 20s, I guess. Yeah.
I don't know, like she might have thought, well, people were down with this or into it or whatever. I mean, I don't know, but
Well,
okay.
also the fact of like he worked for a powerful slave trade and he threatened that if she like tried to do anything, like her family would be harmed and stuff too. He did tell her that. So I guess she is just really in like a really bad spot of if I run, like I could die and my family could be killed and all that.
Yeah, I mean, also like, I mean, it sounds kind of obvious now to me, but I mean, the world before the internet was different.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, so you're not Googling like the name of the slave trade. Oh no, this is fake. He made that up. Okay. Moving along.
It's also a slave trade. So like,
Yeah.
without like,
Yeah,
you
you
couldn't,
know.
there's probably no info on it at all.
I mean, I was telling somebody the other day, believe it or not, people vent on Google. And he was like, really? They vent on? No, they don't. I was like, yes, they do.
Yeah. The internet has changed everything.
Pretty much.
So on March 1981, he actually allowed her to make a phone call home to tell them that she was coming to visit. He had told her that the company had approved it. Basically he used this just to have even more power over her. And her family said that she looked completely different when they arrived because she did actually get to go. He drove her all the way to her family and dropped her off for an entire day. She got to like stay the night and then he picked her up in the morning.
Why didn't she tell? Okay.
I hated it here.
I'm just moving on. I'm just okay. Sure.
Yeah, it's yet again so the nice thing about this documentary is she's the one like telling the story. Like she's actually like explaining what was going on, and it basically was, and they talked to her family too. She basically said like she was just worried that if she tried anything, like he would come back with the company. And, like her whole family would die.
Crap. Okay. For the folks who are listening to this, I have a joking lilt in my voice. The internet's been around so long, I keep forgetting that. Whatever. Yeah. Okay. No, okay. She believes it. Okay, she believes this is real.
Yeah, it's been 3 years since she was taken, so at this point she's just probably like thinking that she is in a slave trade and she's just lucky she's not being sold around and stuff as a sex slave.
Yeah.
Because I mean, yeah, like it's bad for her, but also she does have some freedom, so I guess she could be thinking it could be worse with like if I were to be sold to someone else or something.
Also, like she could be sold at any moment.
Exactly.
Honestly, like I think it was Charles Manson's mom sold him for a pitcher of beer. So, whatever.
Yeah,
I'd sell Nick for 3 flapjacks and a high five. So
I'd sell myself for a cheeseburger right now.
You can do that on OnlyFans. You can get a lot of cheeseburgers if you sell yourself on OnlyFans.
No one wants to see this on OnlyFans.
I think you'd be surprised.
I don't want to acknowledge it. My foot scar would fucking earn way too much.
So
no, Adam, no.
So Cameron ended up picking her up the next morning, and then she didn't see her family for 3.5 years. Her family also said they were just so relieved to see her that they didn't want to ask like anything, because like
I could see that.
they're like, we don't, and like he came across as like a nice guy and stuff. So they're like, and remember, she dropped out of high school and married a dude and then came back a year later. So maybe they were just like, oh, okay, like
Yeah.
she's off living a life. Like we've seen her, she's alive. Like
I
that was at least something for them.
I get it.
So then when they got back, for some reason, he started keeping her in the box under the bed for up to 23 hours a day. She kind of lost some privileges. Why, I don't fucking know, but he's a sadistic psychopath, so I don't know what else you would expect from him.
Yeah.
So then it got to the point that when Cameron went to work and the kids were out at school, Janice actually would let her out of the box and they would read the Bible together.
Ooh.
Nice.
Yeah. So
wholesome.
Stop. You stop right now.
Good Lord.
Yeah. So
They said
you behave.
So on May of 1984, Colleen was allowed to allowed to start sleeping on the floor. She was allowed to have a job. She had a job cleaning at a motel, and she was allowed outside of the house and could go to church with Janice.
Okay, wait. Now I have questions. I mean,
Understandable.
now I have real questions. Before I was like, okay, whatever. I'm sad, sure, okay. Are you telling me this lady had a job?
Yep.
With a boss
Mm-hmm.
who wanted? Okay.
And it was also a bondage sex slave against her will.
I mean,
Yes.
Okay. Check.
I mean, without. I mean, he hadn't gone into this yet, but I don't know if this was an FBI. Well, it was an FBI thing then. So I don't know, like
No, I think the
No.
behavioral analysis unit wasn't until the 80s.
That, and it wasn't interstate. It wasn't child. It wasn't technically sex trafficking. It was just kidnapping. So, like, I guess by request that could be brought in, but that's more of a gray area back then.
The FBI was not brought in on this case from.
It was not.
anything
Yeah.
that I
So
saw.
yeah, then it would have been the actual FBI charter rules, and that's interstate sex crimes, anything international.
Yeah, okay. I don't think murder was even okay.
Murder's not a federal crime.
Not yet.
State. Not now. It has to be interstate in order for it to be a federal thing.
Okay. All right.
Or involve the mail.
Here's my thing, though. Right. Let's get back to my issues.
All
right. Okay. You bring in another adult. With this lady having a job, you bring in at least one more adult.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Right.
Who I'm assuming would have wanted to see some paperwork at some point.
I don't think
a cleaner
laws were really in
a cleaner in a motel in the 80s
in bumfuck nowhere, Oregon.
I mean,
California.
This is California. Wait, it's California. Wait, wasn't she from Oregon?
She lived in Oregon, but like
okay, but she was kidnapped in California. Okay. I was gonna say if she was kidnapped in Oregon and brought to California, that's definitely FBI.
That's what I thought. What I thought. Okay, all right.
Yeah,
okay.
I probably didn't say, but yeah, she made it into California before she was kidnapped by them.
Okay.
All right.
She had hitchhiked into California.
Okay, so all right, and plus, here we are with the modern world. All right, okay, fine, sure, great.
Because I feel like back then, for just a job is like basically like a room like cleaning service. They probably didn't really want much other than like as long as you could show up. I feel like they wouldn't have asked a whole lot. And also, who knows? Maybe they did make her fake papers or something. They just didn't cover it in what I saw.
When was this in the 70s? Exactly.
This would have been in 1984 when this was when she started working.
I think you would have had to show citizenship papers by that point. By that point, I think you would have needed to show citizenship papers. It
could be like a fucking like 2-room motel. That is under the radar anyways.
Years ago, though, I saw something weird where
What you said, 84, Jeff?
Yeah.
All right, never mind. Reagan's Amnesty Act wasn't until 86, so you didn't need to show papers yet. But this would have been actually no, because this would have been about the time where ICE would have been crawling around everywhere.
yeah, but I'm assuming she was what, white?
Yeah.
They're not gonna. I mean, come on,
Yeah.
come on.
In the
fair.
80s,
No, yeah.
nonetheless.
Yeah.
ICE isn't gonna go looking for gonna go looking at white people and be like, oh, let me
Well,
see.
I mean, they were at that point. They were probably looking for Russians.
Yeah, but I guess again, this is one of those things where.
But again, it's bumfuck nowhere, California.
I guess again, this is one of those things where in 2022, there's a lot more paperwork. There's a lot more. A lot more people would be asking questions, right?
Right.
It was probably a cash job, wasn't it?
Yeah, I would assume
Yeah.
so. I doubt she got an actual paycheck from just working as a
Oh
cleaner.
yeah, and so that's the other thing. If this was a paycheck, there definitely. If this was a check from like paychecks or whatever, there definitely would have been some questions. I mean, you would have had to ask questions.
Yeah. Well, also not too long after this, Janice and after Janice and Colleen had started going to church, Janice sat down and talked with the pastor about like not specifically their situation, but she was talking to him about a love triangle. And he said that God would not have approved of that. So that once that was told to Janice then went and saw Colleen at work and told her that Cameron is not a part of any company, and then also everything that he said was a lie. So she finally went and broke it to Colleen that everything he was telling her was an absolute lie. So
that's so insane that the guy's wife was a devout Christian. I mean that's literally crazy.
I don't think she was. I think she just kind of became one after I don't know if after a couple of years of this happening, she was finally like, okay. And she kind of changed ways. But August 10th, 1984.
To be fair, Jim Jones was a Christian, so
that's true.
Wah,
August...
wah, wah.
August 10th, 1984, Colleen got a bus home to her family. Before she left, she called Cameron and told him that she was leaving and that he was no longer in control of her. He then proceeded to cry and she left. Okay. 7.5 years after being kidnapped.
Wow.
So she moved in with her dad. She told her family about being abducted and that she did not want to report anything. She was basically in the mindset of I'm out of it. I don't want to deal with it anymore. I'm free. I just want to live my life now.
Okay.
So she did keep up with Janice though. And then Janice begged her not to go to the police because Cameron promised her that he would change. And yet again, Colleen agreed. She didn't want to go to the police. 3 months later, though, she had another job. She was a cleaner in a hospital, and she was trying to date again, which I feel like was a wildly fast way to go about it after 3 months after being a sex slave for 7.5 years.
I mean, ooh.
Yeah, I don't know. But at this time, Janice had taken the kids and left Cameron. She called Colleen and told her that the police were coming and wanted to talk to her about Cameron.
Yeah.
And then Janice had told the police that he had kidnapped 2 women, Colleen, who had gotten away, and one that he had killed before.
Well, here's a thought that I've got. Because how old did we say this young lady was?
At this point, she'd be 27, almost 28.
Okay, no, in the beginning.
She was 20 when she got kidnapped.
Okay. And somebody went to a preacher, and did she go to the preacher, or did the wife go?
No, the wife went to the preacher to talk about a love,
okay.
What would God think of a love triangle?
So here's a thing I'm gonna say, and I'm not saying this is what I even think, but what if the 2 ladies, or at least partially, thought this was a love triangle, and of course it's not, but
right.
And also I mean, damn, why are we over here thinking that she was right in the head to begin with? I'm not victim blaming, but obviously there are reasons that she didn't run off you know.
Stockholm. That's classic Stockholm.
I mean, there's a made famous by Dave Chappelle comedy bit that I actually remember. Like, I remember the news story about the little girl that chewed through the tape and ran away.
Yeah.
Like, she you know, just saying.
Yeah. I don't know, this whole case had my mind boggled while going through it. Just I don't get it. But Stockholm is yet again, like Nick said, it's a crazy thing.
It can happen in 72 hours. It can happen over months. He had 7 years.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. Yeah, 7 years.
So
right,
I guess less than that because he gave her those privileges, but still.
Yeah, but how far? I mean, how far are you going in 15 minutes?
True. Yeah, she's probably extremely out of shape. They say jogging. I doubt it was much of even that. It was probably more of a brisk walk.
Probably just walking around. I mean,
just to stretch your legs.
Yeah.
Probably emaciated in some way.
Probably the reason why he did that might have been because, you know, health issues or health concerns, or
try to keep her like in a better shape as long as he can, while still, like, I mean, having her not capable of doing a lot.
I mean, how long into the thing did the running breaks start happening?
Oh, I don't know the exact timeline of.
Well, whatever. Most likely there was some form of vitamin D deficiency at that point. So chalk all that into it.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I bet you they're not feeding her limes to prevent scurvy. So vitamin C deficiency.
Oh,
yeah. Probably not.
They fed her. I don't know what they fed her. I don't know if it was like legit meals or if it was just like fucking scraps.
Probably not like multivitamins or anything.
Yeah. And who knows how often they fed her,
for
all we know. So the Chico Police Department found that on January 31st, 1976, Marie Spanicki disappeared and was to this day still missing. She was hitchhiking and picked up by a couple. Same MO. Obviously, Cameron and his wife had gotten her, taken her back to their place. They brought her downstairs, and he decided that he wanted to cut out her vocal cords to keep her quiet. During this time, though, while he was doing it, he realized that he didn't know how to do that. So he just killed her.
Wait, he killed the person that he kept, or?
Yeah. Like the first person he got.
Okay, say that again.
So he kidnapped her, and he realized that he wanted to like cut out her vocal cords to keep her quiet. So he attempted to, but during it, he realized he had no idea how to do that.
Okay, but you're talking about the first person.
Yeah. This is the first person that Marie Spanicki.
Who was kidnapped when?
In 1976, so a year prior.
Okay. Damn.
Yeah. He just fucking, I don't know, man. I don't get it. He just, in his head, he was like, oh, I want to keep, I'm assuming that's why he made the box with carpeting inside of it, so they would stay quiet without having to cut out anyone's vocal cords.
So did this guy get the chair, or, I mean, what happened?
No. He was,
no?
he just gets sentenced. But we'll get to why on that.
Okay.
So they ended up disposing of the body by burying it on a side road of Highway 44, which was a fairly far distance from where they lived. So that's why it was never really put together when she was missing.
All right.
Janice told the police that she could take them to the body, and the police gave her immunity if she did that, and if she would testify against her husband. So that's why Janice doesn't get charged with anything in this.
Okay.
I mean, fair. That's probably the smartest.
Well, also,
move.
Right. She's probably also.
To be fair, without her testimony, it turns into a he said, she said.
Exactly.
Also, to be fair, like you don't really know how willing she is in all of this. Like, you don't.
Yeah.
There's plenty of psychological trauma there.
Really, especially since he met her when she was 15. So he could have just groomed her the entire time.
And also, I could totally see where some DA somewhere would be like, yeah, how do we know this isn't the tip of an iceberg? I mean, how do we know this isn't something?
Right.
You know?
So she leads them around, but they are unsuccessful to find the body.
Oh,
But they do end up arresting Cameron after they talk to Colleen.
all right.
So, but he lawyers up and he doesn't speak.
Oh,
So they go and they search. They obviously search his house, where they find all of the stuff. They find the boxes, the chains, the chain contraption that pulled her. They found the box under the bed. They also found that he had plans, because he had renovated a shed in the backyard. They noticed that he had plans to kidnap more people. The prosecutor for this case was 26-year-old Christine McGuire, who was also the only female attorney in the county at the time. First, she had to prove that Colleen was held against her will, because Cameron's defense was that he kidnapped her and he kept her, but he let her go, but she stayed anyways. So that was his defense, was that she was willingly staying after a while. So another problem was that Colleen was really detached. She wasn't like, so we'll talk about it. When she goes up to testify, she is emotionless. Like, she's just so done with the whole experience and doesn't want to relive it, that she just doesn't show emotion. So they think that that's going to hurt the prosecution, because she just doesn't have any remorse, or not remorse, but like any emotions towards it, and they're going to think that that's going to play better for him, that she was willing to be there. So Christine started off by showing how Cameron's plans were, how he had plans for his contraptions and how they were built, and that Janice was the brunt of the fantasies before he ended up kidnapping 2 women. Janice also told everything Cameron did to Colleen while she was on the stand, and then when Colleen went up, like I said, she showed no emotion. But Christine ended up having the contraptions brought in and had volunteers get in them, because she didn't want to put Colleen back through it, but basically to show how they were used, just to show that, like, obviously no human being would be willing to fucking live like this for years on end. And
yeah.
So then the thing that kind of threw this case through a loop, though, was that the defense then produced quote unquote love letters that were from Colleen before and after the kidnapping. And then they also produced phone calls that she made to Cameron after she had left him and returned back home. So then pair that with the freedom that she had while she was kidnapped, while she was there and kidnapped by him, it made it a pretty difficult case. But Cameron did go up on the stand, and he said while he was on the stand that she ended up falling in love with him, and that Janice and Colleen had teamed up to make him look guilty. And then he threw out there that it's actually because the 2 women were in love with each other and no longer wanted him in the way. But the thing that broke this fucking case was Christine brought in a forensic psychologist, Chris Hatcher, who broke down what happens to someone who is kidnapped and treated that way, and broke down the rule, like basically how Stockholm syndrome works and how it can affect someone, and like basically exactly how Nick said, it can happen in a couple days, it can happen over months, years, but once it's set in, like, good luck getting someone out of it, because they're just going to be fully fallen, thinking that the person, their abductor, is not that bad of a human being.
You know, it's kind of so I'm interested in history, right? And when I was in college, I studied human sexuality. It's really fascinating what human beings can put themselves through.
Yeah.
Especially if they think it's not even normal, just normal adjacent. Like, not even where you think it's normal, just, it's close enough, basically. I mean, plus, I've known codependent people.
Right.
you know, like, honestly.
I mean, yeah, she was 20. Like, how much does she really
Right.
know about, like, love, I guess, like,
And
and how to be
also-
treated by someone, especially with her parents being divorced.
And also, like, maybe she thought that was normal.
Yeah,
Or
and
not
like
nor-
some
Not normal, but normal adjacent or just
Yeah.
close enough, or
that there
whatever.
is like other people like him out there. Like, this is like, there are people who want like a sex slave, and like there are people who are sex slaves. Yeah, it's getting in like back to like what Nick and I are saying. Like, Stockholm syndrome is just wild. Like,
Mhm.
especially with the first case of it that ever caused, the name of Stockholm syndrome. Like, just with the hostages of a bank, thinking that the people who were holding them hostage weren't that bad of people, and they were actually protecting. Like, I don't know. It's wild how your brain will do anything to cope with a situation.
I mean, police, the police, like, they have good cop, bad cop for a reason.
Right. Well, after 2.5 days of debating on if he's guilty or not, they did end up finding him guilty in 10 out of the 11 counts. I don't know what that one count is that they didn't find him guilty of, but he was actually really shocked by this and completely confused. He was one of those people that didn't understand why the fuck he was sentenced or found guilty, but he was sentenced to 104 years in prison. I'm going to assume he wasn't given the chair because they never found the body of the other girl, so they could never actually prove if he killed someone.
Wait, hang on. I was checking my DMs, and a really important guest finally confirmed they were going to talk to me. I could have sworn you just said that he didn't think he did anything wrong.
Yeah.
Okay. What the hell? Like,
yeah. Yeah, that is, yes. He was confused on the fact that he was found guilty. I don't know if he didn't think that he did anything wrong, or if he thought his defense was good enough, saying that she stuck around after he let her go, that he thought that was good enough that he wouldn't be charged. When, yet again, that's still, if you say in your defense that, yes, I kidnapped them and I kept them, but I let them go and they stuck around, you still said you kidnapped someone.
I mean,
you still confessed.
Now I have questions. I mean, what was his dad doing? Like, what was his dad? What did his dad do?
Right.
Like, how did he think this was not? Or, okay, if he thought this was sort of normal adjacent, why did he think that? Number one. Number two, Jesus God.
So that's a really shitty thing, because like he's never talked since. Like, he's never talked to anyone about any of this, like, after going to prison. So that's why, like, there's not a lot about his early life and stuff, because I too would love to know what it was like when he grew up. Because, like it said with Janice, she was abused by her family, so that's why it was so easy for her to go into a relationship with him at the age of 15, being groomed by him and still abused and stuff. That would have been what she thought love was.
Yeah.
But him, like, he had, like, right, like, he had to be abused as a child or something, right, in some way, shape, or form.
There was something going on, some kind of where. I mean,
yeah,
something was up for real.
So to this day, no one has been charged with Marie's disappearance, and no body's been found. So yet again, that's why I think California doesn't have the death penalty, right?
It did then.
It did then.
Yeah, it definitely did then.
So, I mean, I'm assuming that's why he didn't get it, because they never found a body and couldn't actually convict him of murder. I would assume. That's Nick, you're a legal guy, I would assume.
Yeah, I'm currently looking up this thing right now. Oh, fucking California doesn't even have. California actually has not banned death penalty. It has a moratorium on the death penalty.
It has a more, I was gonna say, because they used to fry people.
Mm-hmm.
I know they used to fry people.
Jeff, when was he convicted?
Probably 1984, 1985, somewhere in there.
California instituted the moratorium in 1972, And
Okay.
the
That's
official
before this
moratorium
even
was
happened.
1977.
Yeah, so this happened all before these crimes happened.
Mhm.
So outside of that, that's all I got for notes. That is the end of this case.
Damn.
I mean, yeah, thoughts, everyone? Last remarks, whatever, questions, anything?
Brian.
Yeah, I mean, he's fucking, how old is he now? He's born in 53, so
Actually, no.
next year he'll be 70.
Wow.
On something like this where the evidence is a little
I understand him not getting the murder charge.
I understand. I don't like it. I understand. If there's going to be a case where there isn't a death penalty, fine, I'll take it. I guess this is fine.
104 years. This says 90. What I'm looking at right now says 95 years, but the documentary was 104. So I don't know if maybe he paroled
He'll be
thing
dead
or something. Oh, 100%. Yeah, he's not getting out.
Well, you can get stuff wrong. I don't know if you guys know that, but
Yeah, that's true.
You can get stuff wrong. I mean,
We've never been wrong.
Don't you ever fucking say that again.
I'd argue that about 40% of what we say is wrong.
but I mean, wow.
I thought it was an interesting case. 7.5 years, and she just walked away. One day she just was like, she got told, "Oh, he's lying to you," and she's like, "Oh, all right, bye."
Yeah.
But I don't know, man. What people can do to other people is crazy. It just reminds me of the dude that was in Cleveland that had like 2 or 3 girls like locked up in his house for fucking years.
I'm not gonna remember that name, and I'm not gonna effort that name, man.
Oh God.
I know who you're talking about. I feel like everyone knows.
Yeah,
who you're
I know,
about.
because it was like in 2013 or something that it came out.
It was like 2016.
I don't know, man. That just sounds kind of
Ariel Castro. That's it.
Yep.
I'm sure that shit happened. I mean, I'm sure shit happened like that all the time.
I feel like there's still a lot of it, probably. Like sex trafficking is still a huge problem.
Oh, for sure.
I feel like there's still some crazy. I mean, shit. Even with like Epstein, like it wasn't like
I mean,
that was still a whole wild thing. I
honest.
I try not to think of that stuff, honestly.
Yeah.
This world's fucked. The more that we do this podcast, the more I fucking hate everything.
Pro tip, kids.
Let me turn the table. So what have you learned going in?
Well, I mean, Nick and I already have degrees in law enforcement, so I mean, I already knew the world was fucked, but
Carry a gun everywhere.
it's just, I think what I've learned is like, because I've always liked true crime, but like I always knew like the big serial killers and stuff. And then like you get into it and it's like the amount of like stuff you just don't, when you scratch off the surface of like serial killers on true crime, the amount of like people who aren't like serial killers, like this guy killed one person but kidnapped someone and held them for 7.5 years, shit like that is fucking crazy. And also that there are a lot of really fucking stupid criminals out there that think they can get away with murder.
Oh, for sure. For sure. I used to know a guy who he was a lot older than me, but he had some crazy story about his neighbor. Like he was convinced his neighbor was a serial killer or had been a serial killer somewhere else.
Okay.
And I don't know, I was like, the more I think about that story as an older person, the more those stories as an older person, the more I'm like, I could kind of see it because people are crazy. Shit's crazy. Shit's really crazy. You know what I'm saying? I could kind of see it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's all I got. Nick, Adam, you guys got anything you want to add?
Ladies, before arriving home at night, please check your Bluetooth on your phone. Make sure there's no Apple tags in your car, as that is what human traffickers are doing.
Yeah. Check behind license plates and everything.
Your gas
Just like
cap. Your gas.
Before you arrive home, get on your phone, search Bluetooth, make sure there's no Apple tags on your car.
Yeah. So That's a good tip.
Also, dudes too. Everybody be checking for.
Honestly, yeah, kids, everyone. If you for some reason are listening to us, one, fucking stop.
You should stop. Yeah, your parents.
But
have a talk.
stop after we give you this helpful tidbit of information. If you have a phone, check your Bluetooth, see if there's Apple tags on you anywhere.
Yep.
Don't slip it in your backpack.
Yep.
Somewhere.
Fucking those should not be sold ever.
What was the? I mean, honestly,
It was like to keep track of luggage and shit, like your purse.
Yeah, like you
yeah.
slide one in your wallet, so that way if you ever lose your wallet,
Like I
amazing
get it.
how Apple somehow made human trafficking easier.
yeah, it's like
I
finds my
get it.
iPhone.
There
but for
definitely
everything
need to
else.
be safeguards on that to like something. Yeah.
Hey, I'm a proud Android guy. Android all the way,
Same.
baby.
Same.
Same.
That's all of us.
Yep.
All right. Ben, thanks again. Go ahead and plug yourself again. Plug whatever you would
So
like here.
I do the History Voyager podcast. I have a new revamped website. My podcast is in the top 10% in the world. I currently do where I talk to people about this crazy world that we live in. Because we're living through a communication revolution. We just might not realize it. But I started out as a deep dive podcast into the Spanish flu pandemic and also COVID-19. And I was at one time the 15th most downloaded podcast on COVID in any language on earth. And ask me if I'm proud of that. Go ahead, ask me. I used to wake up every morning to like emails thanking people, like thanking me for saving their lives or helping them save. I'm not kidding. It was crazy. It's literally crazy.
We get hate mail once every 2 years. It's pretty nice.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
I like it.
I'm
No, I
deeply
like
sorry
it.
about that.
It's one time. It's happened once. Our podcast has been around for 2 years.
The
So.
hate mail fuels you, huh?
To the
Oh,
one
I
that
love
we
it.
got wasn't even good hate mail. It was more of like a weird compliment.
It fueled us for about 6 months though.
Awesome.
Yeah, so thanks everyone for listening. If you go down in the description of this episode, you can find our link tree. Has all of our social medias, has anywhere you can find the podcast. But yet again, if you're listening, you already fucking know where it is because you're listening. Top of that is our link to our Patreon. You go there at the $1 tier, you can get our access to our Discord, and you can watch Adam and I to do our movie review podcast. We just released whatever the fuck we did for August.
What's your have you guys seen Nope yet?
I've not seen Nope.
Oh, you gotta see Nope.
I feel like that's something I'm gonna wait.
I've seen
for
none of
HBO Max.
Jordan Peele's stuff.
Jeff and I have seen both. I think.
I've
Yeah. Well, we saw one together.
Yeah.
I've heard it's good. I want to see it. I have liked both of the movies that he's put out so far.
That's gonna be like a Tuesday nights at my local theater. They do $5 Tuesdays, so that's gonna be one of those nights.
The thing about Nope that I love is it might not be it's like there's a thing that is happening, but it might not be an alien. Like he leaves it open to where this might actually not be an alien.
Yeah, that's a nice thing about like kind of all of his movies. They always kind of have like an openish ending to them.
Yeah.
Oh, this is very much not an open ending, but it's an open middle.
Okay.
The wrinkle is in the middle.
Okay.
Yeah.
$3 tier, you get all the unedited episodes, so you can watch all the shit that gets cut out that isn't okay to make it into a normal podcast. But we'll let you see it if you pay us. So outside of that, I got nothing else. Thanks everyone for listening. Nick, do the roar.
Roar.